Awesome. It's very nice to meet you.
You too.
I'm a big fan of your work on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so it's great to be talking to you.
Cool. Cool.
So you worked on so many significant film and television projects before throughout your career. And so I'm wondering to start, how big of a responsibility was it to step into the world of The Lord of the Rings and give the right musical notes, the biggest on-screen expansion of Tolkien's work yet?
I was overwhelmed, I think, when I got the call that I would be the composer for The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. There was a little terror in there, but really it was excitement. The opportunity to tell part of Tolkien's Second Age with themes, to use the skill set that I've crafted over the last, my entire life to tell part of a story that I've loved for my entire life. I was just thrilled. And in many ways, I dove in so quickly that I didn't really stop and think about the pressures of stepping into a live action adaptation to follow the greatest live action adaptation ever put to cinema. It was really only after the show came out and everybody started asking me that question that it occurred to me, like, oh yeah, I guess that really could have been terrifying. But the truth is, if I thought about it that way, I wouldn't even get out of bed in the morning. I would have just pulled the covers over and huddled in the fetal position. How do you write music if you think, well, you got to wake up today and write a theme for Nori Brandyfoot that everyone is going to compare to the Shire theme? Good luck with that. I mean, I couldn't do that, and I didn't do that. I just my brain kind of went into, I got to write this story that I'm excited about, and I'm going to write something that tells me about this character Nori, and I'm going to draw from influences that make sense, and they partly make sense because of what Howard Shore did. And that was, I think, I accidentally put blinders on, and that was a blessing.
And, the show is very, very, very huge in scale, but has also a very sort of specific character-driven focus. How do you find the right balance between scoring these sort of very massive action set pieces while also supporting the main characters in their journey?
To me, the secret is melody. Production and scale and orchestra and drums and choir. You can throw all that stuff at a big sequence, but melody is what makes it memorable and personal and connects with you. So for example, when we walk into Khazad-dûm, you hear this huge thing. You hear this motor in the low strings. You hear this melody that almost sounds like a Russian work song in these singers singing in Dwarvish. And yet there's a melody there that will come back an episode or two later when Prince Durin talks to his dad and asks for his forgiveness, and his dad walks up to him. It's that same melody that comes back, and it's stripped down and it's simple and it's quite beautiful, surprisingly beautiful. And I guess what I'm saying is that it's more effective because you heard it in this bombastic setup. Your brain already knows that it has this might and majesty. And then when this guy, King Durin, gets out of his throne, he literally steps down from his throne to go talk to his son. That same music comes back. Like, that's the power of thematic scoring. That's what a melody can do. It's so much more effective because of that melodic connection. So for me, I just filled this score with as many melodies as I thought the audience could handle. Honestly, more than they could handle. It's so many, but that was the thread that I used to tie it all together.
And in terms of composing the themes for the specific worlds that the show explores, I'm wondering, how did you want to distinguish, each world through their own musical language?
That's a great question. I wanted to create guardrails so that each race, each world, each faction would have its own sound. And so there were a variety of things that I did. First of all, just color. Instruments. There's certain instruments I use in certain places. Elves often have ethereal light choir, emphasizing female singers. Dwarves have low male singers. Numenor has Middle Eastern Greek, Egyptian, Armenian instruments, Mediterranean colors. Orcs have whistles and flutes and drums that are all made from bones and hide. Their instruments are literally made from dead things. And these colors are all distinct. And I try to, and like humans have two different sets of colors too. The humans in the Southlands have scratchy folk instruments, many of which are from Northern Europe, Hardanger fiddle, nickel harpa. That makes it easy in a way. If you associate the nickel harpa and the Hardanger fiddle with the Southlands and you just don't use it elsewhere, it's almost like a Pavlovian effect. You hear that, you're going to think about the Southlands. And I use that to great effect, I think, with the character of Halbrand. We meet him out on the high seas in the second episode, but the second we meet him, the Hardanger fiddle quotes the Southlands theme that we had heard in the first episode. I'm not saying that I think the audience clocked that, but subconsciously that color is there. And even before we find out where he's from, or ultimately who he is, the score is telling you he's an expat from the Southlands. There's something there between these two. So those are great. Those are great tools to be able to play around with when you're telling a story on a canvas this big.
Awesome. It was really great talking to you today, Bear, on the show. Congratulations once again. I can't wait to see what you do for season 2. I wish you all the best, and I hope you have a very good rest of your day.
Thanks, Max. Take care.
Thank you.